Last week I explained that every waking hour of every day, every one of us is listening to a story. And that story is a continuous narration. It's a commentary about what's going on in our life at the time. Now this commentary is based and influenced on what's going on in your mind, spirit, and emotional baggage. And the story can be positive or negative. Now last week, one of you wrote to me and said, can you give us some examples of these stories so we can understand this concept better? So that's what we're going to do today. Now let's talk about your mind first. In your mind, you can have problems and malfunctions like depression, anxiety, mood swings, the chemical imbalance mood disorders, and they interfere with thought control. And if you can't control your thoughts, that will definitely influence the story that you listen to. So in depression, for example, your thoughts are persistently down, sad, and negative, so that your day is influenced by thoughts of this is hopeless, this will never change, I wish I wasn't alive, and you just feel completely out of control of your thoughts. And if you have anxiety, you're just worried all the time. You think your kids will get killed in a car accident, you think you're going to die, and you think you're losing control of your mind. But in the spirit realm, Satan wants to influence your story, and his primary purpose is to erode your trust in God. So he's constantly nagging at you like look what happened. How could a loving God let that happen to you? And why bother praying? Nothing ever changes. No one's listening to your prayers. But in the baggage area, that's where most of our stories come from. And our emotional baggage affects the story that we tell ourselves about ourselves, other people, and God. So for example, you wake up in the morning and you look in the mirror and you tell yourself, I'm such a loser, I'm stupid, ugly, I'm never going to succeed, I'll probably get fired. And then you go to work and something happens and you say, you see, that was intentional, that wasn't an accident. If I turn around, they're going to stab me in the back. I can't trust anybody. And then with God, you'll say to yourself, my prayers never get answered, I guess I'm just not good enough, and I'm hopeless before God. And you see, all of these stories that we tell ourselves, they come from our emotional baggage, and they're rooted in the strongholds that we believe that are stored in the baggage. Now, if you remember from previous blogs, I told you that a stronghold is a pattern of thinking based on a lie. And those lies are placed there by Satan based on past events usually in your childhood. So for example, something happens really painful in your childhood, and Satan plants the lie that says, you see, you can't trust anyone. And that lie, when you agree with that lie, it becomes a stronghold. And that becomes the story you believe for the rest of your life, that you can't trust anyone. Now the good news is, you can change your story. You don't have to be stuck. You don't have to live with these stories all the time. So if you're having trouble with thought control, with your mood, you need to assess yourself. On every page in my website, if you go down the right-hand column, there's a button that says, Am I Normal? You can click on that and go in and do a self-assessment to tell if you have depression, anxiety, or mood swings. And if you have those symptoms, print it out, take it to your doctor, and get that treated so you can regain your thought control. And in the spirit or emotional baggage realm, you can deal with both of those the same way. Because as your emotional baggage is emptied, as the strongholds are smashed, as those lies are extracted and replaced with God's truth, and as the wounds of your childhood are healed with God's help, then the lies are extracted, and so then you don't have to listen to those negative stories any longer, and you'll be able to hear God's story because He loves you, He's got a plan for you, He wants you to hear His story. So, to empty your baggage, you probably need to talk to someone. Talk to a counselor. You can contact me for a counseling appointment. Even read my book, Emotionally Free. It describes how to undo the baggage and assess your thinking. But God wants you to hear His story. And when you change the story, it changes your entire life. So to live a transformed life, you need to change the story from negative to positive. And God is waiting right now to help you with that. He's calling you to a new story. Now I want to hear from you. How has God helped you change the story in your life? Just leave your comments in the box below. We want to hear your testimony. And if this is your first visit here, you need to get my free self-assessment guide. And to do that, just subscribe to my weekly email newsletter by filling out the subscription form, and you know where it is. It's always right there. And I'll talk to you again next week. But this week, give God permission to change your story.